Hello, my name is Sydney Reynolds, and I will be discussing my EOE final submission video presentation. As I go through my slides, I will be thinking of it as a story of a day cycle, starting from the morning to the evening. This makes me think of a day cycle, my story of the semester, because in the beginning, as the sun rises, it's a new day, and I was so unaware of all the things I was going to be learning. As the semester went on, I learned new things, and then wrapping up at the night, when at the end of the semester, when I was able to take everything I had learned and reflect upon that and go out the next day and use that stuff that I had learned. So the discussion points, I'll be talking about my life as a settler, first outdoor experiences, acknowledging the land, breaking the curriculum, unsettling the settler, holistic learnings and understandings. So the settler. I never figured myself to be a settler because I knew that my grandparents had come here and settled the land, but I never thought that I was a part of that. However, I have now realized that I refer to myself as a Caucasian female and a daughter, and I have a centennial farm that my grandparents settled, making me a settler. So my first outdoor experience. The first day of classes, as we moved from the indoor classroom to the outdoor classroom, we were invited to take a look and discover the differences between the spaces. I noticed that the fresh air in the morning allowed me to focus and feel great. The breeze was refreshing instead of being in a stuffy classroom with no airflow. The few minutes of sitting outdoors in a silent space allowed me to reflect on the world around me that I so often ignored in my day-to-day life. I wasn't forced to sit in a classroom and stare at a whiteboard and stare at the windows and wonder what it was like outside. We are now engaged in the outdoor experience. In the novel Last Child in the Woods, a fifth grade girl said, "It's like you're free when you go out there." And after going through the semester of being in an outdoor classroom, I couldn't agree more. So acknowledging the land that we're on. I never thought that Saskatchewan was anything other than Saskatchewan. I had never learned about the treaties in my high school education until I got to university, and I realized that we are on Treaty 4 territory. I really enjoyed how the treaties are not set boundaries, but how they all mesh into one, and you just acknowledge where you are at that point. So I grew up on Treaty 4 territory, and now I acknowledge that, and I want to encourage everyone to learn about that. Another experience that we had during the semester is Treaty Education Camp. It was really eye-opening to discuss all the different topics and to have the open air discussions that we got to lead in the afternoon. In the morning, I went to a breakout session called If These Hills Could Talk by Dea Matter. What she did is she focused on the LeBret Residential School site. She talked to survivors, but she also soundscaped the land to see if the hills were talking and telling the stories. One quote that I found interesting was along the lines of, "If you want to help, don't force help upon others. Work with them and grow with them. That is the way to help." I feel that we need to acknowledge the land, acknowledge the treaties, in order to build those relationships back with the First Nations Indigenous peoples. Breaking the curriculum. We read a story called Coyote and Raven. Coyote and Raven live off the land, and they discuss how they break down curricular barriers because they are out exploring and living it and learning through just being outside. So curriculum puts students in groups and forces them to learn and participate in things that make them uncomfortable or they have no interest in. Coyote and Raven created their own curriculum by living and exploring. If we have a foundation of caring and respect, the rest will look after itself. I understood this quote as if everybody respects and shares their opinions and everybody's open to learning new things from each other, we'll be able to build our own curriculum, but not with boundaries and stuff, but with everybody sharing their ideas. In our outdoor education class, we removed the boundaries of a strict outline curriculum and looked at all subjects as a whole and how to incorporate them into the world around us rather than putting them into neat boxes. So unsettling the settler. My family has a centennial farm, but I realized after this semester that that farm has been there much longer than that. As we drove down the lane to our farm at one point this semester, I saw a bald eagle eating a dead animal carcass. This made me think about the circle of life and how when nature is undisturbed by humans, it can sustain life and have animals and nature living in a natural way. As we drove down to a reserve that is a ducks and reservoir that is a ducks unlimited area, it's also been untouched by humans or hunters. So when we were there, it made me feel that I was really a part of how the natural landscape was. It made me reflect on the past and how First Nations people probably sat in this very spot and lived by this reservoir that I was sitting in. I acknowledged the land I was on and was able to see past the idea of it being my family's farm, but it's able to see it as the land of the First Nations people who lived and thrived off the land long before my family was even on the continent. As I was sitting in silence on the hill, I looked up and saw the bald eagle soaring high in the sky, then land in the trees. I followed the eagle with my eyes until I saw the huge nest that it had built, nestled in the trees. The land I was sitting on doesn't belong to any one person or creature, but should be shared between all. The eagle can coexist alongside the farmer if they both respect each other. So, holistic learning and understandings. Wrapping up this whole semester, I gained a new knowledge that every subject can be incorporated into the outdoors if you put some energy into it. You can also incorporate treaty education into almost every single activity that you do. We also were fortunate to have guest lecturers, Sarah and Adrienne, talk to us and give us resources and the knowledge that they have of using the outdoors in classrooms to help us along in our education degree. Lastly, I just want to thank you for this opportunity of this semester to really understand the outdoors better.